Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative, intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. Bell the Bodysnatcher on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
We'd like to welcome in a new audience tonight. We figured out something we probably should have figured out weeks ago, that we can go live on Instagram. So if you're watching us on Instagram, we appreciate you joining us here tonight. My understanding is that if you are watching on Instagram, we may not be able to see your comments until after the broadcast has concluded. So if you're commenting on Instagram, yeah, it's a whole thing. You can see it if you pull up the Instagram feed, which I haven't. Which I have in front of me, but it's not going to be in front of me all night. So if you do comment on Instagram and you don't hear from us, it's not because we hate you, although maybe it's because we hate you. We'll decide that as we go. Anyway,
hey,
what do we have for? What do we have tonight, Corey? Why don't you tell the people where they can find us?
Libservative Podcast. It's found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativePod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
Not tomorrow, but yesterday would be good.
Yeah, if you didn't do it yesterday,
what a week, Corey. This is maybe I think this is the first week in a very long time where we have shared notes about what we wanted to talk about tonight on tonight's show. Sorry, I'm already half in the bag.
Taking a little peek.
And our notes maybe they were pretty close to exactly the same. Because I didn't even have to send Corey mine, because he sent me his and I went, yeah, mine are pretty much the same. So what do we have in front of us tonight, Corey? Who knew that Al-Qaida was an ally? Who knew that?
Well, they were, and then they weren't, and then they were. Al-Qaida in America. A love story of, I don't know, the hot and cold.
It's RPGs, AK-47s, and tanks.
lots of
a Katy Perry yourself. Song. Just, you're hot, and then cold. You're yes, then
and airplane.
Jesus Christ.
Ukraine will.
It's kind of funny too, right? Like we
NATO.
left Al-Qaida all these weapons in Afghanistan, and then all of a sudden they had a bunch of weapons to go take over Syria.
Isn't that crazy? It's just weird how that shit works out.
Correlation is not causation. I have to give that clause, but it's just interesting.
We also have Luigi Mangione, the man who was captured, the suspect in the shooting murder of Brian Thompson, the CEO of that fucking goofy
United Healthcare
insurance company. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
They united some people, that's for sure.
A lot of thirsty girls out there, by the way. I will admit, this Luigi he's a handsome guy.
He's a stud.
He's a handsome guy. A lot of thirsty girls out there for this guy. Also, we have preemptive pardons from Joe Biden, just making sure his friends don't go to prison. I do remember about 4 years ago, that was a bad thing when the president preemptively pardons people that are.
Well, no, that hasn't changed. It's still a bad thing. It's just some people shifted some chairs in the room.
Is that what happened? All right, I feel you. We got a TikTok ban going
into place. A game of musical chairs.
We got a TikTok ban going into place on a very convenient date, I find.
Which really fucking sucks because we just started making TikTok videos.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. And we also have an Ohio lawmaker wanting to make a very interesting yet very hilarious law in the state of Ohio. And the
An
basically
expansion
the
of government, I hope happens just because we can make fun of him for it.
that would be so fucking funny. And then drones over New Jersey. A lot of speculation. Fox News reporting things that is absolutely ridiculous.
Bob's
I
over
wonder-
Baghdad, drones over New Jersey, live at
Drones
8:40.
over New Jersey. I really like that. Somebody should create that song. Somebody's got to do it. If you're out there, make it happen. Did you learn anything this week, Corey? Do we have things learned? Does Bell have a things learned?
So
You can
I
shake
learned
your head
this
yes
week.
or no, Bell.
So I learned this week
Bell
that,
doesn't have things learned for
the
understandable
little
reasons.
phrase that like I threw out. It's almost kind of cliche. Mostly when I'm drunk, when I'm just taking a weird contrarian stance, like defending something that I know everyone's going to clutch their pearls about. Morality is subjective, and I think with the Luigi murdering, the Luigi capping people, however you want to phrase it, however you want to put it.
Luigi Mangione.
Luigi Mia, yeah, however you say his last name.
Mangione.
He's Italian. Hey,
Yeah.
Italian.
Celebrating Columbus Day is a thing again because of this Italian. In some circles. But I say morality is subjective because you're seeing a lot of people, like good, decent human beings, being comfortable, regardless of political ideology, just finding ways to be very, very comfortable with this murder. Surprisingly, like a lot of people, a lot of people are like completely okay with this, and it's idiots. Like there's we're kind of in a gilded age where there is a upper class that is not giving a shit about their fellow Americans and just to chase the almighty dollar. And, that's chasing the dollar itself, I guess, isn't a good thing or a bad thing. But when you do it, when you're literally doing it on top of tombstones, people don't like that. And I think a lot more people are realizing that morality is very, very subjective. And the morals we have at our place are like morals like from a privileged society.
It's funny. I just had this conversation with somebody. Nothing is universally wrong.
So like the idea of like, is murder ever okay?
To some people, it's poetic justice.
Well, it all depends on your perspective too, right? So like, let's just imagine a man that or you know who it was, came in, killed your kids, killed your wife. Is it justified for you to go murder that person? I would guarantee you, you being a father, Bell, and you being a father, Corey, I would guarantee you that
thought would cross our mind.
No, that you would even find it justified and might actually go do it. So like, this idea that murder is never justified. Now, let me be clear. I don't think murder was justified in this instance for a few different reasons. We can even just jump right into that since I don't think we have a whole lot for things learned tonight. So the murder of Brian Thompson by Luigi Mangione is one of those situations where I look at it and I go, it's something where you can understand why something happened without necessarily condoning it, which is something that a lot of people can't hold those two things to be true in their head at the same time. Because you know how when you say something and they go, well, this is what you actually mean. Understanding why something happened and condoning it are actually two different things. I realize that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but it is. But the problem that I have here is that Luigi Mangione, and we actually have the manifesto from Ken Klippenstein. I know there's a lot of fakes out there. There were a lot of fakes out there today. I trust Ken. Corey, do you trust Ken? I think
he's a pretty credible journalist.
We actually have the
like if you would have posted 2 or 3, then I'd be like, but yeah, he waited, he sat on it,
and he posted what appears to be the legitimate one. But as I was saying, Luigi Mangione, the problem that I have with what Luigi Mangione did in this situation where he murdered the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, was that he's what it shows, not necessarily in his manifesto, but throughout other research that's been done about him and how he feels about capitalism and health insurance, he's mad at the wrong people. And most of the people that are condoning the killing of Brian Thompson are also mad at the wrong people. These are the people that go, this is what capitalism does. Capitalism makes people really mad when you take advantage of other people. And what they're not understanding is that capitalism isn't the fucking problem. The problem is the system that allows capitalism to get in bed with government, that allows things, entities like health insurance companies and big pharma and you name it, to physically write laws to hand to our legislatures to not even read because they're
right.
about
But him being a
1,000 pages
CEO,
long.
he probably had a hand in some sort of lobbying aspect.
Certainly. But is Brian Thompson the bad guy for taking advantage of the system that's in place, or is the system that's in place the bad guy?
Well,
But
sure.
did he lobby to have the system in place put in place? That's the questions you have to
Right.
ask
That's
too.
a question that we probably don't have an answer to right now, but the laws are in place, sure, for loopholes to be exploited. But those laws also don't say that you have to exploit them. Like a good chunk of the other insurance companies had denial rates that were half of what UHC had.
No,
The guy
okay,
the guy was
so
a
then-
crook. He was in the middle of a lawsuit for insider trading.
Insider trading. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not saying he was a good guy, but I think you would agree, Corey, and probably Bell as well. I don't think he deserved to die. Oh, look.
I'll never
Corey
say
side-eyeing
someone like
it.
that. I won't say he deserved to die either, but I'm not.
I don't say he deserved to die, but he definitely didn't deserve to have that seat of power that he was taking advantage of, exploiting, manipulating, and literally because, like I said earlier, his business model was letting people die and seizure out at hospitals and stuff like that to make money for his shareholders.
But
he's a
there's
shitty
also
person.
No way.
But he also wasn't doing it like physically with his hands, that if he lost that power, the problem may have been solved without losing a life.
But
sure.
again, I think here's why I think that comes back to the system, because I think you have a guy with the way health insurance is run with government help. I don't think Brian Thompson was a guy that went to work every day and said, I'm going to kill people. What he went to work every day and said was, I'm a CEO. My job is to make money for my shareholders, and I'm going to use every avenue that I have to make that happen. Does that make it right? No, I don't think it makes it right. But if I'm sitting in Brian Thompson's seat, I'm probably going to do the same thing without the insider. You know what I mean? Like without the insider trade, like within the law, to ensure that I keep my job, to keep my family healthy, to keep my family safe, to keep my family with, the whatever. I don't know what his salary was. I think it was like $10 million or something like that. But
right, those salaries are comparable to insurance companies that were doing half of what he was doing.
But if the system's not in place that we have to where health insurance companies can go and lobby the government, big pharma and health insurance companies are two of the biggest donors to political candidates in all of the United States. So if it's actually, I think you know that where this is going, Corey. I'm coming back to a free market argument. To
That's
where if this was genuinely a free market, Brian Thompson wouldn't have the ability to have his company deny 32% of claims
of people paying him money monthly to be protected, only for them to go
just to turn a profit.
No.
Listen, I don't mean to be the guy that like defends what Brian Thompson did. All I'm saying is, if the system weren't what it is and it were more open and it were more libertarian and it were more free market, Brian Thompson wouldn't have had that ability, because there would have been a multitude of other insurance companies, not just a multiopoly that we have in the
Right.
in insurance companies right now that would have forced him to compete better, as opposed to just find the easiest way to cut costs, which is what? Denying
People
claims.
die. Yeah.
Denying claims.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely
my
right
whole-
when
I
it
gue-
comes
I
to
guess
that.
my whole
Like
point
the
is-
system
ahead.
is set up for him being allowed to do that, right? And with government intervention, they put people over a barrel to where you basically have to pay a tax, an extra tax penalty if you don't have insurance, and then there's only a couple of big insurance companies because they've monopolized the market. And so then you have to choose from like 8 shitty insurance companies based on your state because protectionist policies don't let you. I could be wrong. Bell looked this up. I think you have to get insurance like from your state, like in your state, or like from where your company is like headquartered, right? And we can't get insurance claims from like here in Detroit. I can't get an insurance claim from an insurance company that's 40 minutes away in another country. There's protectionist policies put in place that stifle the market. And then they subsidize and prop up the insurance companies that are allowed to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah,
Getting your colon.
Corey, that's a great point. That's a great point.
Getting your colon checked. Guess what? Literally, no Vaseline, not covered.
Yeah.
Come here.
Yeah.
It's big corporations in bed with big government. I'm of two minds. I think that the government could come in and fix this issue if they created like a Medicare option, like not.
What are you,
mandatory,
a Marxist?
Not mandatory, but like an
Fucking
option.
red?
As a way to interject because they built this problem and as a way to interject it and create kind of a free market thing. Because if they came in with a lower price, the insurance companies would have to compete, and then you could still get a private affordable insurance company. Or just completely taking out protectionist policies, trying to make it to where it's like, I see the doctor maybe once a year, maybe. Why can't I just have like a really basic, simple, catastrophic insurance that covers just in case I go to the ER? And then maybe but like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I guess, but how much is it? I guess it's pretty cheap. But then I was going to add to that.
I think it comes down to like who you're allowed to buy insurance from, because
that's what I mean. Yeah.
The point that you made just a couple of minutes ago when you talked about like, why the fuck can't I buy insurance from Canada, which is 40 minutes away? Like if a Canadian company comes and says, just pay us this amount every month, and then when you have an issue, we'll cover it. Like, what insurance is supposed to be? What does it matter if it's a Canadian company? Why does that matter?
Or a Mexican company.
I'll explain that to you right now.
Or
actually,
a fucking Taiwanese company. Who cares?
Because the liability is different. So a company in California, Northern California, was
that right though? It's by state.
Yeah, it's by state because different insurance companies are offering different things. They have to change their policies based on which state they offer insurance policies to. Because
why is that?
But why is it that I get insurance through Minnesota?
It's state law. It's the state laws. It
course.
has nothing to do with the insurance companies. That's all
right.
state.
But then there's a loophole built for companies who are headquartered in different states. Like my insurance for my company is through Minnesota.
Right. But these are massive corporations that aren't taking a loss really. Then you got these little companies that are in Michigan trying to insure Michigan people for Michigan things. They're not going to insure, people from Hawaii for volcanic damage. Or if something happens to them with volcanoes.
Sure, like a house, getting burned by lava is way
just something
less
like
of a
that.
risk here than it is in Hawaii.
Right, or they're not going to want to add rock slides to their insurance policy. It's just something more that they have to offer that they don't want to because they're already based in Michigan.
If you opened up the market, then companies could offer a more generic thing where they'd be like, if you get hurt, you get insurance, like whether it's a fucking rock slide or an ice falling through the ice or slipping on some ice on your front porch.
No, I agree. It's more,
you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't have to be that litigated, but that's big government coming in and fucking everything up.
Well, not only that, you probably got one company really owning 4 or 5 different insurance companies all around the United States.
In each state. Yeah, that's fair. But what I'm not, that's not fair to the market, but that's fair. Like that's what you're saying and makes sense. But what I'm saying is like, if you open it up to where it's like a company could just offer just a basic generic insurance that goes across the street for a plan that works in every state, and it competes with the other prices because they can offer a lower price because now their target audience is 300 million versus only 12 million here.
Yeah, and now
million
you
there.
have, and to add to that, Corey, now you have a situation where like an office worker he's not like a firefighter or some dangerous job. You have some of those guys that are probably not going to get hurt or sick anytime soon, offering in their premiums to where it's just more generalized. It's not. It shouldn't be that complicated, and here we are. And so
I think it's more state government holding that type of ideal up than insurance companies, to be completely honest.
But that's because, especially like since Obamacare and even before that, that's because big government mandated the states do this type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's
big government, get out of my ass.
I looked up these numbers.
I call my girlfriend big government.
Pharma and the health industry are for sure 100% the biggest lobbyists. Currently, this is as of 2023, 1,845. That's 58.64%. The number of pharmaceutical and healthcare product lobbyists in the United States that are former government employees. They also are the top spenders. The pharmaceutical and health industry is also the top spender in political campaigns. In 2020, they donated a total of $89.09 million. And
that's wild.
A decade before that, they were donating 170% less. So that's around 20 million.
That's insane.
A little more. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. And going back to like what you were saying, Dan, like if just buying insurance just from wherever, right? Like if they just give you a plan, you pay us this amount of money each month. When you get a bill, we'll cover it. Like a simple plan. Doesn't have to be anything more than that. But it's like from like Mexico or something. And and guess what? Oh no, I might have to drive to Mexican town in Detroit in an hour to actually see a doctor that will accept this insurance. But if I'm gonna pay pennies on the dollar, I'd be willing to take that bet. You know what I mean? Like it's
I mean, the only thing that you have to worry about is, if you buy an insurance plan from outside the country, like, they might just take your money and leave with it. Right. So like you still have to do your due diligence and do your research.
Well, I wouldn't be like getting some from like Kazakhstan.
I understand.
Like the UK,
not a place, but
Canada, or not Uzbekistan.
There you go.
There we go.
Kazakhstan, though. You were close.
Yeah, that's the one I was going with, but I think I had Borat's voice in my head when I said it.
The home of Borat.
I'm insured out of Turkmenistan.
One of the best goddamn journalists around.
Borat. It's just bullshit.
Thank you, Joe.
Not the actor who portrays him.
You know what I find so interesting about just the entire discussion that we just had is how much it's being pointed out that Luigi Mangione killing Brian Thompson has brought up questions about just health insurance in general. And then there are certain folks, mostly on the
phrase when he was getting pulled into that building, completely unhinged. This is an insult on the American intelligence. This is an insult on the intelligence of the American people.
So again, he's
right there. Look, it's causing everyone to have this conversation.
He is, but he's wrong. He's mad at the wrong people. He's mad at the wrong people for the wrong reasons. That's just my feeling.
I get what you're saying, like
libertarian view.
You're basically kind of saying if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk. You know what I mean? Like the system is set up that they can exploit these loopholes, sure.
But here's what I'll say.
Still, like you don't have to do it, right? You don't have to.
Does Luigi Mangione's killing of Brian Thompson change anything? Because we can sit here and have the conversation.
Actually, anecdotal evidence. Okay. Anecdotal evidence.
Fair enough.
It literally did have a direct impact on my life because my company's headquarters because my company's headquarters is in Minnesota. That's where we get our insurance.
Did you go snatch that body bell?
Well, the insurance there was trying to.
I would have.
The insurance there was trying to change their policy that they were only going to allot payment for anesthesiology, like anesthetics, based on how long like the labor hours were for your average like surgery. So let's say it's like, well, the book says 4 hours. It's just like a fucking auto shop when they quote you based on labor hours for a job. It says 4 hours to get this surgery done. So that's how much we're going to pay for the anesthetics. Well, if there's a hang up in the surgery room and it takes longer than 4 hours,
as happens in the OR.
Yep,
yeah.
Where if the surgery takes longer than 4 hours, after that 4 hours, their new policy was going to have to where that's not covered by insurance.
Yeah, they bill you.
They reversed that either the day of or the day after.
It was
the
day
CEO
after.
was killed.
That could be coincidental.
They're going to say
I was
it's
just going to ask.
coincidental.
I was just going to ask. I was going to say,
sure
do you think that would have happened if Mangione didn't gun down Buddy from United Healthcare? Do you think
maybe
none of this would ever
maybe?
happen?
Well, here's why I would say maybe, and here's why I would say that could be coincidental. These are things that take place. These are conversations and board meetings that take place over the course of months. So, like, there's a chance that it's coincidental, that it just happened to fall at that
like
same
all the
time.
bureaucracy in that. You're saying with all the bureaucracy
True.
with inside a big company, a decision like that was probably made a couple weeks ago and then finalized and ran through.
If not months ago. It's possible. I mean, listen, like your point is still taken. I get it. I get what you're saying.
So it was just like, all right, and it's but yeah, that's why like the system absolutely is fucked that it allows this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that people have to take that extra step. And then know what I was trying to think,
dude,
and this is what also kind of pisses me off right here, right? The loopholes and stuff in our government that allow these things are always catered to big corporations and rich people. I sat here while we were talking about it because I was trying to think of an example to solidify my argument about how, like, just because the system is allowing this legally doesn't mean that they absolutely have to try to get an edge at the sake of, people actually dying. I can't think of one example that the working man has that there is a law that we could exploit, but don't, based on like more of a moral ground. I can't think of one.
Well, I'm sure if you thought long and hard about union law, you might find something.
Maybe, but I'm saying as like
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
But you could think of a bunch for rich people, and that just goes to prove my point more. It's like, what the fuck? Like, this whole system is set up. This is big business in bed with big government again.
But again, Corey, I'm not gonna say rich people because I have an issue with this.
Dude,
this
I'm
whole
not
idea
saying rich people in general. I'm saying this rich person.
No, understood. But like,
because there's plenty of good rich people out there.
I think you're pointing the gun at the wrong person when you, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but like when people are just pointing the gun at the rich person because he's rich, that's not exactly the right person to be pointing the gun at, because a lot of the times the rich person is just taking advantage of the system that's in place, and it's the system that's the issue. Like, I don't have an issue with billionaires,
but right, but and I don't even know if it's necessarily.
How did they help create it? So
lobbyists.
So here's what I think you're saying.
Alex stuff.
So here's what I think you're saying, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm putting words in your mouth. But because I hear this a lot, where the rich people, they lobby the government, as they should be allowed to put a law in place that helps them. Any human being would do that. The fact that we have a system in place that allows a rich person to lobby the federal government to put a law in place to help just them is the problem, because human beings are always going to do the thing that gets them ahead.
Right.
So so it's really hard for me to blame the rich person. It's really hard for me to blame the billionaire for taking advantage of the system that's in place. Trump talks about this all the time. Or what was the thing Trump said about taxes in 2016 before he got elected? He's like, I know all about the system because I'm the one that exploited it. I'm just paraphrasing here.
Right.
But like,
and I get what you're saying about the system being the problem. And I absolutely agree the system is the problem.
Like you're acting,
this person still exploited
Corey,
it.
What you're asking for is for somebody to be this Jesus figure moral person, when if you really sat down and looked at and looked at what you had in place, if you were in that man's shoes, God damn it, there's not a person in the world that wouldn't do the same thing. You would do the same thing.
I don't think.
Like
I like to try to think that I'm virtuous because I'm not in that position. But
do you know how exactly? It's like if I was in Germany in 1939, I would absolutely have stood up against Hitler. No, you wouldn't have. No, you fucking wouldn't have.
It would have been the same type of stuff that happened with Trump, because everyone called Trump Hitler and they just rattled their chains and didn't really do much. But it's like, as an outsider looking in, I'm not in that position. You know, it's like I've been in positions where I could steal and I didn't, and stuff like that. I mean, I did steal before when I was younger, and that's actually a funny story.
So, but Liberty Twitcher wants to, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Liberty Twitcher wants to know, what's the solution? More government? Question?
Never.
Liberty, we will answer that question, but I'm going to let Corey.
Yeah, we actually just talked about it a little bit before this, like how like deregulation and protectionist policies being stripped could help solve this problem by creating more of a free market for insurance.
Did you forget what you were saying?
No, it was I was talking about how like you can, like, I guess you can blame both. That's as far as I'll concede, is you can blame both, you know, like, because the system is set up for him to be able to take advantage of these, but he was still the person not acting in good faith. Now, I said, should he have been murdered? No, probably not. He should, like, but like that position of power obviously was too big for him. Like, this isn't trying to be a shady used car salesman. This isn't anything like that. This is a company that's whole message in marketing, its whole position in the marketing system, its messaging in the marketing system is, we're here to help you. If you just pay us this amount every month, you have to worry about nothing. And then when there is a point where someone reaches out to that insurance company and it's like, this person is dying and they're covered by your insurance, can you cover them? And then that the stuff that they made goes, no, sorry, that ain't gonna work. It's a whole far cry. Like, when it comes, like, I think that there's a moral obligations for certain industries, just like how I think there's a moral obligation that people who put water in bottles, the bottles should probably be clean and not have lead in them.
This is one of those situations where you see the flaws in capitalism. So, like, let me be very, very clear. I am absolutely pro-capitalist. I think it's the best system that we have. I think I've said that multiple times on this show.
My means of production.
However, doesn't mean capitalism isn't without flaws. And most good capitalists understand that, yeah, of course it has flaws, but it's the best we have. So this idea of corporate greed, thrown out there all the time. Bernie Sanders talks about it all the time. Lots of people talk about corporate greed. Yes, corporations are greedy. There's good and bad that comes with that, because with corporate greed, you get an unbelievable amount of innovation. You make people richer through corporate greed, all the way from the top.
You get better products. You get a more stable market. Yeah, there's
all the way, Corey, all the way from the CEO down to the lowest worker makes more money off of corporate greed. But to your point, there are also casualties as it pertains to corporate greed. But let's take the casualties of corporate greed and let's compare it to the casualties of Marxism. Let's compare it to the casualties of fascism. And you tell me which system historically is better.
Right.
Now, there are
absolutely capitalism.
Now there are ways to fix these things. So I hope I answered Liberty Twitcher's question when he said, I'll put it up there on the screen again. What's the solution? More government? The answer is absolutely not. The answer is less government, because more government is the reason why we're in this fucking situation in the first place. More government is the reason Brian Thompson was gunned down in Manhattan about a week ago.
There you go. I'll blame the system. I'll join you on that one. It's the system's fault Brian Thompson got killed.
Yeah, it is. It is.
If you treat people like animals, they're going to act as such.
Because at the end of the day, what you have to realize is that Brian Thompson is a human being at the end of the day who is trying to feed his family. And how does he feed his family? By doing his job. And what is his job? His job is to make more money for shareholders.
Healthcare.
No, Corey. Yes, indirectly, I suppose you're correct. But directly, his job as a CEO is to make more money for shareholders. I'm not saying it was right. It's not right, but it wouldn't be
it's like,
as
I don't,
easy.
Yeah, I get it. I don't condone it, but it's like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
It wouldn't be as easy to do with a more open free market with less
a
big
business
government
model
up
wouldn't
the
survive
ass.
like that. A business model wouldn't survive like that in a free market. Could you
Correct.
imagine if someone imagine if you had all the options in the world for insurance and this one shows up and goes, hey, for the same price as these guys, you can pay it every month. And then there's a 1 in 3 chance that we're not going to cover it. Don't you want to have our insurance?
No, exactly. And if it was just easy enough for you and I to go, hey, Corey, sounds like insurance is having a problem. Let's open an LLC and let's start our own insurance company. Let's do that tomorrow. But we're not allowed. We can't do that because of
all the taxes.
Because of bullshit protectionist policy. That's what it is. At the end of the day, sounds like we mostly agree.
For the most part, yeah. Like you're blaming the system. I'm blaming the guy, and it's like they're one and the same anyways. Because we always talk about big business only exists because of big government. So we pretty much agree.
Since I am now the libertarian of this show, as we've decided over the past few weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm really libertarian, and somehow you out libertarian me all the time.
Now I feel like I'm playing a role. Do we have anything else? Do you have any final thoughts with regards to? We didn't even talk about Luigi, other than the fact that Nintendo's having a rough couple of months.
Yeah, the first Diddy, now Luigi. It's a meme I saw. I can't take credit for it.
That's very good though.
I also like the fucking idiot, like we said, the guy's a stud, a good looking guy, and he fucking pulled his mask down to flirt with a girl, and that's how they got his face.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, what the fuck,
dude? No,
the Monopoly money thing, dude. The guy,
Corey, there are some lefty lady thirstmongers out there for Luigi.
There's lady thirstmongers out there, man.
Are there really some on the right?
It's just no. I'm assuming just because based on comments I've read, like on Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro made a thing about how the leftists, want him dead or whatever, and it's only the leftists, and all the comments are full of people saying, "Oh, I guess I'm a leftist now," and wow, we know what side you're on.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because I don't know if I know for a fact you didn't, but for the listeners, I listened to the recent Patrick Bet-David episode with Cenk Uygur on it. And as for those who don't know, I'm sure you do if you listen to our show because you're a fucking nerd for this shit like we are. Cenk's a lefty. He's a populist lefty. And a lot of Patrick Bet-David's listeners are populist righties. And basically, Cenk's whole point throughout this entire episode, they talked about a cornucopia of different things, but was that populist left and populist right agree on so many fucking things. Yep. And we need to understand. And I actually agree with Cenk when he says that. Take the wins when they come with the populist left and the populist right. And this kind of seems like one of those things where the populist left and the populist right are in lockstep.
Everybody hates health insurance
on this. Yeah. And so it's just another one of those interesting political developments that I think we should all keep an eye on, because I have vehement disagreements with Cenk Uygur being as left as he is, But the thing about Cenk is he's one of those guys where I feel like he is
There
he's at
almost.
least he's no, it's not even that. He's even if you disagree, he's honest with you. Right? Like I feel that way about so many political pundits. Like you can tell when somebody is being dishonest with you. And it doesn't even matter if you're on the same side as them. There's just something gross and you don't want anything to do with them. But somebody that's on the complete far end of the spectrum from you, if they're at least being honest with you, if they're at least coming from an area of like first principles,
right, good faith,
you're good with them. I feel that way all the time. And that's what I've started to look more for. I urge our listeners to do the same thing. Don't necessarily pay as much attention to whether or not you agree with them. Pay more attention to whether or not they're coming from an honest place.
Right.
Are they Cenk Uygur or are they Joy Reid? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're very similar politically, but one of them is full of shit. One of them is being honest with you. And this is one of those. This is one of those areas. Yeah, I have vehement disagreements with Jimmy, but I listen to him a lot, and I yell into my fucking car while I'm listening to him throughout my workday. But I appreciate the fact that Jimmy is a guy that's coming from a place of what he feels is right. That's the more important thing.
I'll add that. I'll add that the McDonald's worker that snitched on them, the government's fucking them too, and they might not get their reward money because like they called the wrong hotline or something. Or right now he's only arrested for the gun charge and the fake IDs, but he hasn't been charged in New York yet for the murder, and they're fighting the extradition charge right now. And his lawyer is just like, there is absolutely no evidence that he committed that murder in New York. So there is no grounds for an extradition. So
yeah, but then you look at the video of him getting taken in, and it's like, this is a guy that wanted some infamy. You could tell he did this for a little bit of fame. It's like, this is the
because
guy.
of the Monopoly money in Central Park by the carousel?
No, well,
some Joker shit.
So here's the thing. So this is me coming from more of a I guess a normie perspective, because like I look at this and I go, as a libertarian, it's like, do you have the evidence? Do you have any actual evidence to convict this guy?
Right.
No. Okay. But like from a normie perspective, I look at this and I go, like, this is definitely the guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, this is definitely the guy.
But there is no actual evidence.
Doesn't appear so yet. No, it doesn't. But no, there actually is evidence, because the casings do match the weapon that he was found with.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That was
at least according to the AP.
That was his other noob mistake. He used a revolver. Don't use a pistol.
Yeah. Listen,
for people that don't understand, it's revolvers.
I mean,
don't eject shell casings.
Like,
that's why in all the gangster movies you see them using revolvers for assassinations, because no evidence.
Like, from a libertarian perspective, this guy, you can't convict him on what you have right now. But from like this is kind of obvious perspective, seems like this is the guy.
Yeah, it's probably him. It all matches up way too well.
Anything else?
But, yeah, the McDonald's that it happened at, that worker will probably also get fired on top of not getting their reward money, because it's getting review bombed like crazy. It's full of 1 stars of people saying the plate.
And ironically, he'll lose his health insurance.
Right, and ironically loses health insurance because they're review bombing the place. It's full of 1 stars that just say place is full of rats.
That's fucking funny.
Right.
I love the internet.
The internet's great, right? Dude, there's so many good memes. There was one of this McDonald's workers smiling at the camera, and it was like, oh yeah, and Frank's in the attic. Like saying shit like that. Like, it's pretty funny. Snitches. Oh man.
What's so funny?
The end of 2024 and the murder of The murder of the UHC healthcare CEO, a tale of two class traders.
What's so funny about that, just to add to that, is the idea that a large amount of these people, just because I like to call out hypocrisy from time to time, are the same people that were like supporting Tim Walz for like snitching on people in fucking Minnesota for not wearing masks in public.
Right. Yeah, it goes back to the things learned. I said that it's been, just morality is subjective, and it's pretty wild, right? What was I gonna say? I think that's it.
I think that's it.
And you know what I also think about the monopoly money?
Bell put something important in the chat where he said every health insurance company's stock tanked the day after the shooting. That is something that needs to be mentioned because it is very interesting.
But UHC's went up $7 after it happened.
Get your tinfoil hat.
The day after, all of them tanked. Blue Cross Blue Shield, everybody, their parent company, everybody tanked. Yeah, Cigna tanked. And they only denied like 13 or 12% of their claims. But yeah, I mean, it might have went up $7, but it tanked first.
It went up $7 when the news broke. And the people still had their meeting. He got shot at 7. The shareholders and the other executives still had their meeting at 8, and their stock went up $7 that day.
We done here, Bell. We're switching topics. Make a note. I gave Bell a new assignment tonight, so I feel like I have to help him along. Shit, Al-Qaida.
You don't have to.
I know, but I'm a
Al-Qaida.
I'm a dictator of a boss. I'm not even a boss. Like, I don't own you. You don't own me, motherfucker.
You would kill people for that stock buyback.
No, I would be killed for that stock buyback.
You would. Why was Dan killed? Because he was denying 32% of people their insurance. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Just exploiting the system. I just feel like I turn into Michael Malice more and more every day. Assad run out of Syria. What a fucking week it's been.
50 years of the Assad regime. Give or
50
take.
years, his father and himself. And what's so funny about this is the reaction to it. Because it's another one of the situations a lot like why am I fucking blanking on the name of the old leader of Iraq? Saddam Hussein.
Oh, Saddam Hussein.
This idea that something can be good and bad at the same time. The idea of that we often have in geopolitics where people have this inability to hold two things to be true at the same time in their heads all over the place. You talk about Israel, you talk about Ukraine, Russia. Holding two things to be true in your head at the same time is a very difficult thing for some people, and I really struggle to understand it at this point in my life. Because yes, Assad was a terrible ruler, but also he provided stability to the region. And yes, by the way, the West is responsible for a lot of the atrocities that took place in Syria throughout Assad's reign. Did I miss anything?
No.
Just go look up Operation Timber Sycamore. A real simple thing to go look up. That was basically the one of the attempts at a coup to remove Assad. Because people look at this and they go, well, Assad murdered a lot of his own people. And I'm going to give Dave Smith credit for this analogy because I thought it was so brilliant. I have to put it out there myself. Saying that Assad murdered hundreds of thousands of his own people is the equivalent of looking at the Civil War and saying, Abraham Lincoln killed hundreds and thousands of Americans.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, that's true, but there's way more to that story than just the fact that hundreds of thousands of people were killed. And I can already hear people, and I'm going to defend Dave on this too, because people have probably already said it to him and he didn't say it on his show when he mentioned this. This is something else that I thought of. I can already hear people going, are you comparing Assad to Abraham Lincoln? How dare you? No, that's not what,
sir.
That's not what Dave did. That's not what I'm doing. However, it is a fair comparison to just leave out
A civil war.
75% of the civil. And by the way, when it comes to Syria, why did that civil war start?
Oh, yeah. No, the Civil War started because it's a proxy war between Russia and America. I think that's the basic premise of it. Or Iran, maybe. Syria was basically Iran's land bridge to Lebanon. There's a big geopolitical piece.
And
Regime topple there. You're quartering Iran in a corner. Yeah.
Rebels funded by the West to take out Assad. And again, do I feel like you have to keep saying it because people will say that you're an Assad toady, Barry Weiss. It doesn't mean Assad was a good person. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean he wasn't a terrible dictator. Two things can be true at the same time. But when you sit there and you talk about the issues in the Middle East and you don't understand the West's hand in the problem, you might just be regular ignorant, but if you're not regular ignorant, you're willfully ignorant. We are remarkably responsible for this.
Yeah, we played a major role. And this new group that's coming in, they're talking about wanting to be moderate and allow Christians and Sunnis and the Shiites and
former Al-Qaida members. I love it.
Yeah, now we're like, we're gonna work with them. Yeah, why not?
The people that allegedly blew up the World Trade Center, we're now friends with. Like, that's just what you need to know. Is that do the American people need to know anything else?
There's so much more context to that.
Oh, there's so much more context to that.
That'd be a whole episode on its own. Dude, I can't wait for that documentary. Like, just the story of the Mujahideen turning into Al-Qaida. No, those are two different groups.
And you're backing the same. You're backing the same Sunni terrorists. When it comes to Israel, they're like excited about this. It's like you're now backing the same Sunni terrorists. I understand they're also they're more afraid of the Iranian Shia, right? Because Iran is Shia, right? I always get them fucking confused.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but you're afraid of the same, let's just say, Islamic extremist terrorists. You're now supporting the same Islamic extremist terrorists that you're afraid are going to blow you up. Like Ben Shapiro made a video and it's like, well, this could be really bad, but it also could be really good. And then as Dave Smith says, he gives his own like Ben Shapiro history, his own Ben Shapiro revisionist history about what's going on here.
Yeah.
And so like, you now have a power vacuum that's going to be soaked up by former Al-Qaida members. I can't imagine what could go wrong. Can you?
Right.
Do you see it? You see what could possibly go wrong here?
Nope. No, this is going to be great.
It's going to be so good. It's going to be
so
good.
Awesome.
Syria is free now.
Yeah.
Just like we said about Iraq, right? Like, oh, Saddam's out. It's going to be great. It's going to be a democratic country now.
We need to go there and teach them.
Yeah, we got to go spread some freedom.
We got to spread freedom, brother.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. And it's crazy how like the Ukraine shit pops off, then the Israel shit pops off, and this civil war there that's been going on for like 20 years. Afghanistan ends, and then all of a sudden they had the tools and the logistics and the weapons to just, oh, yep, this civil war is over. It's just ending it.
Yeah. Now it's going to be, God. And then, yeah, Afghanistan, you were there for 20 years. And the Taliban, by the way, is now officially, it took a little bit of time, but not that long, made it essentially illegal for women to go to school in Afghanistan. So I'm glad we thought about everything. But doesn't that just bring back the you remember all the people that were like, what about the women in Afghanistan? They're going to lose all their freedoms. Well, ladies, yeah, you were right. You were right. But what did that 20 years that we were there do to help them, really?
Women weren't allowed to go to school. We went to war with them for 20 years, spent all this money, lost a bunch of lives, killed a bunch of innocent people, and then left. And then women aren't allowed to go to school.
Yeah. So we started in the
But
same
we got
place
that
we
Bin
finished.
Laden. We got
We
that
got
Bin
him.
Laden.
We got that
fucking
motherfucker.
got him.
Oh,
Pakistan.
God. We,
All that
and
matters.
Hey, in Pakistan.
Yeah,
by the
but
way, by the way, not Afghanistan.
Whoops.
those, yeah, but Corey, those SEAL team motherfuckers fucking raped his ass. They just
Dogs?
fucking stuck it to him.
And then
These
chucked him in the
dogs?
ocean. Chucked him in the ocean. Just yeet.
Hell yeah, for sure, 100%. He's in the ocean.
We
Hell
spent we spent 20 years in a war and billions upon trillions of dollars and killed one man.
Created a martyr.
If
Created
that
a
isn't
god.
America, I don't know what is.
Yeet.
Oh, that's the other thing. Actually, going back to the Luigi thing. I'm sorry, really quick. It
Oh,
blows
fuck's
my
sake.
mind. I know it blows my mind that people are killed every day in New York, and they can never find the murderer when it's just a regular Joe Schmo. And they have like a 39%. At least it was like the last quarter of 2023 that I found. They got 39% clearance rate for murders there. But then when it's a rich person, it's like, oh, bring out every single goddamn resource that we have. And,
Yeah,
you know,
man.
and,
It's the Nancy Grace missing white girl complex.
yeah. Oh my gosh, a rich person.
Yeah.
We got to
you're
find
right.
a killer.
What else we got? We go swap topics now. You have anything else
Yeah.
to say about Al-Qaida being our friend now?
No,
He's thinking.
I was trying to think of some little
No.
joke or something. I was thinking about planes. I was thinking about
Don't think-
TSA.
Don't think.
I
Don't think too hard.
Now that
It's
they're our
just
friend,
bullshit.
can the TSA go away?
What?
Can I get back on a plane without taking my shoes off now? So now that Al Qaeda is our friend, can we loosen up restrictions at the airport?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I stop having to walk through metal detectors?
I think that's fair.
found shit.
Thank you.
I guess
That's
we're just letting bygones be bygones, I guess.
It's actual. It's so funny because there's some airports you don't even have to take your shoes off. I remember I was in the Denver airport, which is one of the most. If you're from Denver, you know what I'm talking about. One of the most high traffic airports in the country because it's kind of like one of those tweener airports that is like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
Yeah, I've
You know.
never been to Denver, but I've been to the Denver airport.
It's a shit show in there, and
Yeah.
they don't even make you take your shoes off.
So
I'm like
I didn't
taking
have
my
to go
shoes off.
through-
You like it? You like how you go to an airport and some of them are like, you don't have to take your shoes off. Like, what are you doing? Like they look at you like you're the weird one for taking your shoes off.
I didn't have to go through TSA there. It was a layover. We landed there and left from there. So
It's busy though, right? You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
it's
That
a
that
big
airport.
fucking airport.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories around that airport.
Yeah,
too. It's
pictures are
very,
pretty
very
wild.
interesting
It's
story.
weird art.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird art. Then there's like the Bronco that's outside. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get to see the Bronco.
I did because I had to stay the night there, but
It's literally the Denver Broncos. That's their team. Why would it be weird?
I
A Bronco outside?
I understand.
I'm
It's like a whole
assuming a
story.
statue. It's not just some live Bronco like strapped
Yeah,
down
it's
in a
no-
pen in the parking lot. Is it?
It's totally like it's a live Bronco. Like people
You
come
buy
and
some-
like
Buy some
People come and
oats.
ride it, like really like weird women come to get fucked by it. It's crazy.
It's like
Crazy
a Tijuana
thing.
donkey show.
Yeah, 100%.
Gross.
Are we moving on?
Denver Airport, 1 star.
Too much horse rape.
Too much horseplay.
Preemptive pardons, Corey. You like this one?
There we go. It's just
Should I
just in case.
Should I just start with the Joy Reid video? Can we just start with this? Let's just roll that. This is from right before Trump left office after losing the 2020 election.
Looks like she has a mustache.
Barack Obama never had to think about whether he needed to pardon Sasha and Valia, and yet Donald Trump is reportedly discussing pardons for his kids. The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. Trump is considering preemptive pardons for his adult children. Late last night, we learned that Trump has discussed preemptive pardons for his 3 eldest progeny. The news was first reported by the New York Times. And joining me now is Congressman Adam Schiff of California, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family. And so there is a self-interest at play as well. It's been essentially a den of thieves environment. And so I think the president views this as his way of trying to protect those that have protected him.
So, you know what we need to add to our sound effect is the fucking, oh shit, why am I drawing a blank on the show? The Larry David show. The fuck? The show he made. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm, yeah.
We need that song.
Yeah, can we just say that isn't a video that aged well? Is that fair?
A video that aged well, that's for sure.
It didn't age that well. Literally, if you took that Joy Reid video and you replaced every time they said Trump with Biden, does it change?
Nope.
So here we are. And listen, I think we talked about this last week when it came to Hunter. I think Hunter should have been pardoned. But what it shows is, obviously, the folks at MSNBC, and in this case in particular, Joy Reid, they don't actually have principles. And as we talked about earlier on in the episode, when I was discussing who you can listen to that you disagree with, it doesn't matter that much that you disagree with them as long as you can tell that they're coming to you from a place of honesty and principle. You're still willing to listen to them and take them relatively seriously. So I feel like most of the American public kind of agrees with me on that. And when you look at somebody like Joy Reid, clearly has no principles, because do you think Joy Reid supports Joe Biden's blanket pardons? Do you think so? You don't know for sure because they're never going to talk about it. But here we are with Joe Biden blanket pardoning the Anthony Fauci's of the world. And again, that's not even the part I have an issue with. I don't really care. It is a presidential right to, you win the presidency, you have the ability to pardon people. Do you think, Bo? Do you think?
I have the issue with his son, though. It's like, again, here's the system, and then the system being exploited. Bell had that little piece put together last week, and it was written really well about the idea that this guy spent 50 years in fucking Congress making these laws that snagged his son. And while there's thousands, if not millions of people in jail because of these laws, his son gets the pardon, but they don't.
Fair enough.
Fuck is that about? Like, I wouldn't be upset if you just pardon all like nonviolent drug offenders. Like, you know what? I'm pardoning my son because I realize that this law is bullshit. So I'm going to pardon all these people too. You would get an applause from me.
Or nonviolent. And to add to that,
I would say that made his.
Well, Corey, let me add to that, nonviolent gun offenders as well.
Yeah. Nonviolent gun offenders, nonviolent drug offenders, pardoned. I would say that would be on the pin board with the removal or the pull out of Afghanistan is what made his presidency could be considered successful in some aspects. But no, he didn't. He just went straight nepotism, just protecting his son, who's a millionaire, who would have been just fine and probably would have gotten out of this anyways.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it was so negligent. Like, he wouldn't have done jail time.
I don't think there's a world where Trump was actually going to go after Hunter Biden.
No, he was already convicted. He was already convicted, Dan.
You're right.
It was never about Hunter. It was about Biden. Hunter was a conduit to try to find corruption on Biden, on Joe Biden. He was just a conduit. Correct. They got everything they could out of him. It didn't connect enough to the case. They were done with him. When's the last time you heard about him in the news? They were over it. Trump won. They didn't give a shit. Fauci, on the other hand, might have had some skeletons in his closet, and the preemptive pardon, I think, proves that.
Well, does it? I don't know if it proves it. I don't necessarily
alludes to it. Okay, alludes to it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but
because he lied about the NIH, like there is skeletons there.
I don't know that there's anything necessarily to convict Fauci of. However, I do think that Anthony Fauci is guilty of crimes. I don't know that.
Right. And even if there was no conviction, I still want to get these people rent through the ringer so then other people, when they're in these other positions, they realize it's more of a headache than it's worth.
Yeah, and
instead, this just keeps the system moving.
When it comes to Fauci, it's like, and Patrick Bet-David made this point on his show, and I thought it was great because I don't even care whether or not Anthony Fauci goes to jail. The guy's 83 years old or something like that.
I just don't want the next guy to do it.
Well, it's just like, but yeah, like in the court of public opinion, which as we've seen so often since like social media and the internet has taken over the narrative, the court of public opinion means so much more than the fucking court of appeals or any other actual federal, state, or municipal court. So yeah, Anthony Fauci needs to be drugged through that court of public opinion in a real way.
Yeah. But now he might not get his pardon. And like I said, it might not, he might even be convicted of anything.
He may still be. And that's kind of the hope that I still have, even with this like blanket pardon, because what this blanket pardon does is anybody that was asking questions about Anthony Fauci is going to ask them so much harder now.
Oh, so much harder.
Like, why did he get that? Why did he get that?
They're going to ask him so much harder.
Why'd you pardon Fauci? Why did he need that? And you understand it. Like, it's understandable.
Yeah.
It's understandable. I don't care. Honestly, to me, I just want him to go away. But I completely understand the whole, hold this fucking guy accountable.
Yeah.
Hold this guy accountable for
at least get the sound bites of him
lying,
right.
Perjuring himself in front of Congress, which is a crime that a lot of people have committed and I think should be held accountable for on both sides of the aisle. But like, drag this fucker's name through the mud after what he did. Anthony Fauci shut down the world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think about it from that perspective? He is the sole person that was responsible. If you had to point to one human being that shut down the world,
mm-hmm.
He shut down the world. He shut down the economy. He cost so many people their jobs. Now, could you, in a court of law, bring him to court and convict him of those things? Probably not. That would be very difficult to do. But as long as the world knows, because I think you were with me when, and I could be wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when COVID first started, I thought Anthony Fauci was an okay guy.
Yeah.
I kind of believed him.
Yeah, no, it was weird, remember? Because the data was skewed. They were only testing the really sick. So in the beginning, COVID had like a 10% death rate. So it was fucking scary. I had a 5-month at a home. I went and spent $2-3 grand at the grocery store, bought like 3 months of groceries. I locked up in my house. I had to go. The only time I left was to go to work. I went to work and came straight home.
Yeah. And so for me, and maybe you feel the same way, I'm not happy about being lied to in that capacity. And like,
because then you look back and afterwards and like, China says they have way less cases and that we have way more, but China was like really calling cases of death what they were, not if they had COVID. And in America, we had the highest death rate, but it was, you could have died of pneumonia, but if you had COVID, because of the way our health system was set up, if you died of pneumonia, but you had COVID, you died of COVID.
And we've talked about this multiple times on the show during that time. It was with versus from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you tested positive for honestly,
and it didn't start distinguishing that until it started to fade away.
Now in 2024, December 11th, 2024, I'm a perfectly healthy person right now. There's a chance I could get a PCR test right now, right this minute, and test positive for COVID and never feel any symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the kind of thing that nobody paid attention to. You could probably do the same, Corey. You could probably go get a PCR test right now, and there's a pretty good chance you might test positive. But that's
the thing, right? Those tests, like, you could go and do that even though you didn't have symptoms, but in the data, it would just show that there was a COVID case in the area.
Correct.
It was all a mess. Because and it was the first sickness we've ever done that with. Like, imagine if we did the common cold. It'd probably be right up there. And the death rate,
we'd probably all have it.
Similar.
We'd all have it. Everybody that gets tested has a cold. Everybody that gets tested has rhinovirus.
And that's why I said, like, I don't care if he gets convicted or not. What that whole scenario needs to be put under a microscope and investigated to all extents that you possibly can, because it should be a reflection point and a learning point. And we might be missing out on that if he gets pardoned.
Well, and I'm
not even like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want a criminal case, but I want him to get questioned. Like, what's going on in your brain?
No, you're 100% right. Let me just add to that. The important part is, because people don't really have a good enough respect for how important what history reflects, how important it is. 50 years from now, I want the record to reflect what Anthony Fauci did.
Right.
Like, for real, what Anthony Fauci did. I don't want history to show that Anthony Fauci oversaw COVID and just did the best that he could, because the establishment, that's what they want.
Yeah.
That's not what they want, because they don't give a shit what history reflects, because they'll all be dead, but to save their own asses. But at the end of the day, how much good revisionist history we have on various different topics, how much history is being questioned now today. I want what's being shown, what has happened today and in the last 10 years to be reflected correctly in historical record. Because I've always been a history buff. I love history. I've never questioned it more than I have in the last 5 years. Right. Is what I learned in history right? And how do we prevent the horrible things from history happening again? Because what we always talk about, right? We don't want another Hitler.
Right.
We don't want another Hitler. But how another Hitler gets created is by lying or whitewashing in a
What Hitler did.
I don't mean that in a like a pejorative way, but like just whitewashing history, cleaning up history is the thing that,
and we're seeing it
that
with
creates
this.
these things.
We're seeing it with the Biden presidency because the way they revise his transcripts, they remove stutters and missteps. And it's going to be wild because, I mean, obviously they're going to have audio and stuff, but like 50, 100 years from now, they're going to read these transcripts of Biden and they're going to be like, this guy didn't seem that fucking too far gone.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to, you know?
Yeah. You're talking about people that are born today that are turning 50 in what would it be? 2074, right?
Right.
Looking back on it, I'm dead. You're dead. Bell's dead. We're all dead. We're not here to tell the story. Luckily, we are, because here we are, recordings of ourselves that exist, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a great tool for historians going forward. Just what we're doing today.
Yeah,
because it's
just a transfer. Yeah, it's just a transfer of like catalog and things. I was just gonna say it used to just be written word. Now it's audio stuff. It's scary though, because this stuff's way more fragile than physical paper and pen.
It's true. Yeah. Our shit can be destroyed by a bad solar flare. We got anything else? Oh, we have drones over New Jersey.
Yeah. They don't know what they are.
Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. I'm going to say this. Do I have a fucking banner for this? I don't think I created one. Fox News came out today and said that there was some mothership from Iran off the East Coast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some guy's like, I have a source.
I think it's pretty clear there's no mothership off the East Coast from Iran. I could be wrong. We could jump on this show next week and be completely wrong about that, but doesn't look good. I'm going to tell you this. Here's my theory, and this could change by the time we do a show next week because we could know exactly what this is. But as we sit here today on Wednesday, December 11th at 9:52 p.m., there's two scenarios here. Either the United States military knows exactly what these things are, or they have no idea what they are and they're remarkably incompetent. Which to you in those scenarios is more scary?
Well, I think neither are necessarily scary and both could be plausible. Like if it is some guy with a fucking just drone he has parked in his garage and he turns the lights off and then he flies it up and turns it on and fucks it around with everyone in some sort of
well, there's multiple drones.
Oh, what was the guy's name? Bell, you might be able to help me with this. The guy's name that actually took over a local TV station for like 30 seconds. Something Header, like Max Header or something like that. He took over a TV, look up like a guy who took over a TV station. Or it was like one of the first hackers. And it's like almost, it was just this big prank. There's no rhyme or reason to it. He wore a mask. I forget the guy's name. And he just starts counting. And he's just like, oh my God, we're still live.
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom. Yeah, the Max Headroom. That it could be something like that. Brighton Eyes is in the house. I'm actually really glad Brighton Eyes showed up because his little profile pic looks eerily similar to Luigi's. And Max shows up. Not Max. Brighton Eyes shows up pretty religiously to the show, and he wasn't here this time. And I thought, Jesus Christ, are we the ones who radicalized this young man?
That would be so good. No, because yeah, we're not in Luigi's headspace as far because I told you why he was wrong. I'm sorry, I'm drunk. I can't get my words out.
Your words? Who?
They're tough. They're difficult.
But yeah, like, so I don't know, but like if the government probably hasn't a very good idea or inclination. I don't think it's Iran doing this. I don't think they'd be letting that fly. I'm sure we would know if Iran was in our airspace. If we don't, then that is kind of scary.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the incompetence is more scary than they know exactly what it is, but they don't want us to know.
And I mean, it could be. We've pissed off a lot of big governments lately. It could be one of them just showing us, like, just a little tap, little bop. You know, like, you're not as protected over here as you were 100 years ago.
They're just throwing up a drone show over New Jersey. Like, come on.
Not bombing nothing, not trying to start a war. Just sending a message.
I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it, but we could be.
Because
honestly,
you're not in New Jersey. Those people are probably freaking the fuck out, dude.
No, I dude, honestly, because you're like me on this, Corey. You and I, Corey'd be texting me right now. I'd be like, "Hey, Dan, we're starting up a bonfire. You want to come over and check out the drone show?" You'd be doing that shit.
Yeah, I'm the guy that's outside under the awning during a big storm. Yeah, just looking up.
You would absolutely. Me and Belle would be over there right now. We'd be doing the show from your backyard with the fucking Iranian drone show going on over our heads.
Right. Yeah. Bring your piece just in case. LOL JK with the little GIF that has the winky face.
Yeah, like, oh, Corey wants me to bring my gun. Okay, I'm bringing it.
Cops get called us. We're just trying to pop it out of the sky.
Shall we finish with something?
See, that's
funny,
what's funny
Corey?
too, right? Like, if it was like Texas or anywhere in the South, or even like in Michigan and a pretty large swath of our state, that thing would be shot down. Like, it would have been plopped out of the sky real fast.
Shall we finish with something funny, Corey? Let's just finish with something a little bit lighthearted.
Okay.
Belle, Corey, and myself, as most of our listeners know, are avid Michigan football fans. And maybe the funniest story of the day to come out is that this has been reported by both Yahoo Sports, right, and Bleacher Report, that an Ohio lawmaker wants to make flag planting at the center of Ohio Stadium not illegal. Not just illegal, but a felony.
Oh my God, dude. We are so stuck in their heads.
The heads of Ohio State, because I'm looking at them like, is this lawmaker perhaps an Ohio State grad? Maybe just a little bit an Ohio State grad.
Probably.
Partially an Ohio State grad.
Yeah, talk about legislating through emotion, right? Like, the idea that you're so like this is obviously the outcomes of it won't be anywhere near what the other law is, but like the Patriot Act, just legislation out of fear.
You got stuff on your phone, don't you?
I'm looking up I'm just looking to see if there's any updates just to make sure.
I look at this and I go, I just want this to be true. Please,
the Hill reported it. Fox 2 Detroit reported it.
It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
Yes, there's actually an Ohio lawmaker that wants to make the University of Michigan. Let's just say this because it says flag planting at the center of Ohio Stadium a felony. Let's just be honest about what that means. That means when the University of Michigan comes in there and fucking waxes your ass for the 4th year in a row, the 5th year in a row, the 6th year in a row, the 7th year in a row, you don't want them planting a flag at the center of your stadium. I cannot believe, actually, I can.
Oh, we don't have
Ohio.
the song. We don't have the U of M fight song.
That's totally okay.
I'll play it.
The fact that you have an actual.
Dan's getting his hat.
That's just Jim and Bo. That's just Jim Harbaugh and Bo Schembechler.
I know. When you ran away, I thought about making the quick run to my room to get my 2024 national chance hat. But like, we are so in their heads, and like, I didn't even play this song when we beat them. You know, I thought about it, but I didn't. But like, now I just gotta fucking play it. Like, there ain't no way I'm gonna play that song, dude. That's so fucking funny. Making flag planting in Ohio a state felony. Soft ass Ohio State.
And it's just so Ohio that you would focus as a lawmaker. Let's talk about what that means. You're either a state senator or a state representative, right? Focusing your time on a
taxpayers are paying you for.
On a college football game, not wanting a flag planted in the center of your stadium.
If you
lose. Only if you lose. Only if you lose. Here's the thing, Corey. The game's in Ann Arbor next year.
Yeah, we better
Ohio
not fucking lose.
Well, here's the thing. If Ohio State comes in here and beats us, I don't think they will if Ryan Day is their coach, because he's the softest coach in the history of college football. If they do, and they plant that flag at the center of Michigan, at the center of the big house, that big O flag, yep. I'm gonna be upset. Don't get me wrong, be real upset. Not gonna love it. I'm gonna want to throw up. I'm gonna have about 6 beers to drink the pain away. But at the end of the day, you beat us.
Yeah,
you beat us.
Now, would you be mad if the players reacted the same way the Ohio State players did?
Yes, I would.
Oh, you would?
Yes, I would. Yes, because the whole thing is
you had the chance to fight during the game,
and you didn't.
Yeah,
they have to me they have the right to come into your place and beat you, especially when Michigan
Ohio
was so
State,
bad all
Michigan.
year.
Yeah,
they have the right, and flag planting is nothing new.
God, I hope they lose to Tennessee. That'd be so fucking great.
I've never been a bigger Volunteers fan than I am today.
I know. I've never been like, I've like, unless it's Ohio State, if it's a big, and Michigan's not in the game and it's a Big Ten team versus someone else, it's good for the conference. I want the Big Ten team to win. Not Ohio State, though. And dude, and it's so funny, dude. I've been trolling people in the different social media pages because like the Ohio State that group pages are showing up on my feed now. And it's the ones going, yeah, but we're still in the playoffs. You guys aren't. And it's like, all right, so you haven't been an Ohio State fan for very long, huh?
We're literally the national champions right now.
Like before the CFP, this would have been a good season. You know,
for Michigan?
Before the college playoffs.
No, it wouldn't have been a good
the Rose Bowl. We didn't make it to the Rose Bowl because remember that's all that mattered before the college national playoffs or the college football playoffs. It was we kept the Brown Jug at home, we kept the Paul Bunyan Trophy at home, we beat Ohio State, and we're getting a New Year's Day bowl game or New Year's Eve. Not a New Year's Day. We're getting a New Year's Eve bowl game.
No, I wouldn't have called it a good season, but it's like it's one of those things where no matter how shitty your season is, you could lose every single game. If you go out and beat Ohio State, there is an air of just like calm to it. So,
and that's only for people who have been like really, really solid, like Ohio State or Michigan fans for a long time.
I got to pee. You want to tell the people where they can find us, or do we have anything else to talk about? The TikTok fan, but we can say that.
Let's start a podcast. Let's found it. Oh, how I hate Ohio State. Oh no.
Don't get bogged down by all the haters out there.
The Assertive Podcast is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibservativPod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Do it. I dare you. I dare you.
Anyway, For Bell the Body Snatcher on the ones and twos, he as always has been Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative. And until next time, we are out of here.
Peace.